Leonid Popov and Valery Ryumin were both cosmonauts who served on board the Salyut 6 space station during the Soviet Union space program in the 1970s and 1980s. Leonid Popov was a Soviet Air Force pilot who was selected as a cosmonaut in 1970. He made his first spaceflight as a flight engineer aboard Soyuz T-5 in 1980, where he spent nearly 51 days aboard the Salyut 6 space station. He later flew on Soyuz T-7 in 1982, which was a mission that involved docking with the Salyut 7 space station. Valery Ryumin was also a Soviet Air Force pilot who became a cosmonaut in 1973. He served as the commander of the Soyuz T-5 mission in 1977, which attempted to dock with the Salyut 6 space station but was unsuccessful due to technical problems. Ryumin later flew on Soyuz 32 in 1979 and served as the commander of the Soyuz T-5 mission in 1982, which was another mission that involved docking with the Salyut 7 space station. During their time on board the Salyut 6 space station, Popov and Ryumin conducted various scientific experiments and also performed maintenance and repairs on the station. Their missions helped pave the way for future space exploration and contributed to our understanding of the challenges and opportunities of living and working in space. Sure, I can provide some more information on Leonid Popov and Valery Ryumin and their missions. Leonid Popov's first spaceflight was as a flight engineer on Soyuz T-5, which launched on April 9, 1980. The mission lasted for 70 days, during which time Popov and his crewmate, cosmonaut Valery Ryumin, conducted scientific experiments and performed maintenance on the Salyut 6 space station. This mission set a new record for the longest duration human spaceflight at the time. Popov's second mission was as a commander of Soyuz T-7, which launched on August 19, 1982. The mission was notable for being the first joint mission between the Soviet Union and France, and also involved docking with the Salyut 7 space station. Popov and his crewmate, French astronaut Jean-Loup, spent nearly 8 days aboard the station before returning to Earth. Valery Ryumin's first spaceflight was as the commander of Soyuz T-5, which launched on October 9, 1977. The mission was intended to dock with the Salyut 6 space station, but technical problems prevented the docking from occurring. Ryumin and his crewmate, Vladimir Kovalonik, had to return to Earth without completing their mission. Ryumin's second spaceflight was as a flight engineer on Soyuz 32, which launched on February 25, 1979. The mission involved docking with the Salyut 6 space station and lasted for nearly 176 days, during which time Ryumin and his crewmate, Polish cosmonaut Mirosław Hermaszewski, conducted scientific experiments and performed maintenance on the station. Ryumin's third spaceflight was as the commander of Soyuz T-5, which launched on May 13, 1982. The mission involved docking with the Salyut 7 space station, where Ryumin and his crewmate, cosmonaut Alexander Ivanchenkov, spent nearly 150 days conducting experiments and performing maintenance on the station. Both Popov and Ryumin made important contributions to the Soviet Union space program, and their missions helped pave the way for future space exploration. Leonid Popov was born on May 10, 1945, in the Altai Krai region of the Soviet Union. Before becoming a cosmonaut, he served as a fighter pilot in the Soviet Air Force. He was selected for cosmonaut training in 1970 and completed his training in 1972. In addition to his 2 spaceflights, Popov served as a backup crew member for several other missions. Valery Ryumin was born on August 16, 1939, in Komsomolsk-on-Amur, in what is now Russia. Like Popov, he also served as a fighter pilot in the Soviet Air Force before becoming a cosmonaut. He was selected for cosmonaut training in 1973 and completed his training in 1975. In addition to his 3 spaceflights, Ryumin served as a backup crew member for several other missions. Ryumin was also involved in one of the most dramatic incidents in the history of human spaceflight. In 1983, while he was serving as the commander of the Salyut 7 space station, a fire broke out on board the station. Ryumin and his crewmates were able to extinguish the fire, but the incident caused significant damage to the station and threatened their lives. Despite the danger, Ryumin and his crew were able to make emergency repairs and return safely to Earth. Both Popov and Ryumin were awarded numerous honors for their contributions to the Soviet Union space program. Popov was twice awarded the title of Hero of the Soviet Union, while Ryumin was awarded the title 3 times. They both continued to work in the space industry after retiring from active duty as cosmonauts. Popov went on to serve as the director of the Yuri Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center, while Ryumin held various leadership positions in the Soviet space program. Leonid Popov's first spaceflight on Soyuz T-5 in 1980 was his longest mission, which lasted for almost 51 days. During this mission, Popov and his crewmate Valery Ryumin conducted various scientific experiments, including studying the effects of microgravity on the human body and testing new technologies for spaceflight. They also conducted repairs and maintenance on the Salyut 6 space station, demonstrating the importance of human presence and intervention in the maintenance of space infrastructure. Popov's second mission on Soyuz T-7 in 1982 was a historic mission, as it marked the first joint mission between the Soviet Union and France. Popov and his crewmate, French astronaut Jean-Loup, spent almost 8 days aboard the Salyut 7 space station, where they conducted experiments and also made a live television broadcast to Earth. Valery Ryumin's first spaceflight on Soyuz T-5 in 1977 was intended to be a docking mission to the Salyut 6 space station. However, due to technical problems, the docking maneuver failed, and Ryumin and his crewmate had to return to Earth without entering the station. Ryumin's second spaceflight on Soyuz 32 in 1979 was one of the longest Soviet spaceflights at the time, lasting almost 176 days. During this mission, Ryumin and his Polish crewmate Mirosław Hermaszewski conducted numerous scientific experiments, including studying the Earth's magnetic field, observing the behavior of the human body in microgravity, and testing new technologies for spaceflight. Ryumin's third spaceflight on Soyuz T-5 in 1982 marked the first time that a cosmonaut was sent to a space station as the commander of two different missions. During this mission, Ryumin and his crewmate Alexander Ivanchenkov conducted various experiments, including studying the properties of fluids in microgravity, observing the Earth's atmosphere, and testing new technologies for spaceflight. Both Popov and Ryumin retired from active cosmonaut duties in the late 1980s and continued to work in the space industry in various roles. They both made important contributions to the Soviet Union's space program, and their missions helped pave the way for future human spaceflight endeavors. Leonid Popov was born on September 10, 1945, in the Soviet Union. He received his initial cosmonaut training in the early 1970s and was selected for his first space mission in 1980. In addition to his two space missions, Popov also served as a backup crew member for several other missions, including the Soyuz T-1 and the Soyuz T-9. Valery Ryumin was born on August 16, 1939, in the Soviet Union. He began his career as a pilot in the Soviet Air Force before being selected for cosmonaut training in the mid-1960s. In addition to his 3 space missions, Ryumin also served as a backup crew member for several other missions, including the Soyuz 26 and the Soyuz T-3. Popov and Ryumin's first mission together on Soyuz 35 in 1980 was notable for several reasons. It was the first time that two spacecraft had docked with the Salyut 6 space station simultaneously, and it was also the first time that a woman, Svetlana Savitskaya, had flown in space. During their mission, Popov and Ryumin conducted several spacewalks and set a new record for the longest spaceflight at the time. Their second mission together on Soyuz T-7 in 1982 was also historic, as it marked the first joint mission between the Soviet Union and France. French astronaut Jean-Loup joined Popov and Ryumin aboard the Salyut 7 space station, and the 3 cosmonauts conducted numerous scientific experiments during their 8-day mission. Both Popov and Ryumin retired from active cosmonaut duty in the late 1980s, but they continued to make important contributions to the Soviet space program in other roles. Popov became the director of the Yuri Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center, while Ryumin held several leadership positions in the space industry. Today, Popov and Ryumin are remembered as important figures in the history of human spaceflight. Their missions aboard the Salyut space stations were critical in demonstrating the feasibility of long-duration spaceflight and the importance of international cooperation in space exploration. In addition to their 2 joint missions, Popov and Ryumin each flew on several other space missions during their careers as cosmonauts. Popov's first spaceflight was as a flight engineer on Soyuz 35 in 1980, which lasted 185 days. He also flew as the commander of the Soyuz T-6 mission in 1982, which lasted 141 days. This mission was notable for being the first time that a crew had returned to the same space station, Salyut 7, for a second mission. Ryumin flew on his first space mission, Soyuz 25, in 1977. This mission was intended to dock with the Salyut 6 space station, but it was unsuccessful due to a problem with the spacecraft's docking mechanism. Ryumin's second spaceflight was as the commander of Soyuz 32 in 1979, which docked successfully with the Salyut 6 space station. This mission lasted 175 days, setting a new record for the longest spaceflight at the time. Ryumin's third and final spaceflight was as the commander of Soyuz T-5 in 1980, which lasted 211 days and set a new record for the longest spaceflight by a Soviet cosmonaut. Popov and Ryumin's joint missions aboard the Salyut 6 and 7 space stations were significant for many reasons. They helped pave the way for the later Mir and International Space Station projects, and they demonstrated the value of international cooperation in space exploration. They also helped to advance our understanding of the effects of long-duration spaceflight on human health and performance. Overall, Popov and Ryumin are remembered as important figures in the history of human spaceflight. Their contributions to the Soviet space program were instrumental in advancing our understanding of space science and exploration, and their legacy continues to inspire future generations of cosmonauts and astronauts.